Remind us what international law says about the use of force and the system that we've built that governs that question.
Yeah, it's a great place to start. So the international system as we know it is kind of built around one bedrock rule, which is that war is not a legitimate policy tool for states. And this is something that is enshrined in the UN Charter, which is, of course, a treaty that the U.S. Senate provided advice and consent to its ratification. It constitutes the supreme law of the land here, but it's binding on all states, and it reflects a set of rules that developed over centuries and really crystallized in the post-World War II moment, outlawing the use of force among states with two very narrow exceptions. One is UN Security Council authorization. The other primary exception, and the one that's used the most often, is that states can still use force in legitimate self-defense when it's necessary and proportionate to do so. That's the set of rules that we see getting stretched most often, especially by powerful states. But it's also important to keep in mind that bedrock core that wars of choice are outlawed. That is what we're seeing tested today, really for the first time by major powers since the World War II order, and that's the one we have to keep our eye on.
And the debate about the international legal order, what happens at the UN, can feel very far away from a place like Cleveland. So why is it that you think people here in Cleveland should be paying attention to this debate, weighing in on this debate, and how can it impact their lives?
Yeah, it's great that you asked that because it really impacts all of us in really tangible ways, but also more broadly, just in terms of what kind of world we want to live in, right? Do we want to live in a world where one man decides whether or not our sons and daughters, our mothers and fathers are getting sent off to war? Or do we want that to be a decision that's made by the people that we elect, who we send to Washington to deliberate about that most serious decision, right? Do we want to see a world in which countries can simply choose the path that we see now in Iran, where our energy prices are going up? There's a destabilization across the region, broader impacts in all kinds of economic security ways that are still just unfolding now, right? The sheer costs in terms of human lives, but also in terms of the economic costs of the conflict we're in right now in Iran. These are things that matter to all Americans and that matter to all the civilians, caught up across the globe, right, when a war of this magnitude breaks out.